It's the backbone of America's national security, the U.S. nuclear triad: air, sea, and land, through bombers and submarines and intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs. It's critical these weapon systems are routinely tested to assure our allies and partners that we stand ready and to deter our adversaries from attack. But how do you test these programs without launching an actual nuclear warhead and inflicting total chaos and destruction? Well, 8th Air Force invited me to the heartland, to the U.S. Strategic Command Base, for an exclusive look into a one-of-a-kind mission. Here at Offutt Air Force Base, it's not uncommon to see these aircraft behind me here, two key components that are vital in our country's nuclear command control communications. One of the planes is the E-4B, America's doomsday plane, an aircraft and mission we were previously given access to. The other plane is the E-6B Mercury, America's airborne and only alternate launch capability for the ICBM fleet. This is a look at a U.S. glory trip.
The goal is to not be seen, to not be heard.
Send that message to our nation and partners and ally that we're ready for us.
The glory trip missions are a perfect example of the joint force coming together. Every glory trip mission includes members of the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and Space Force, working as one team.
Showcasing the readiness of the U.S. nuclear force.
We practice, we test, we validate, we operate, so that if we ever need to do our mission, we're able to do so.
We operate kind of in the background of what's going on. We're ensuring the security of our nation.
A lot of people, American citizens, allies, are kind of counting on you to make sure that you're doing it right every single time.
By air and land, testing the capabilities on the world stage.
We're excited to be a part of something that allows individuals to have that sense of security and peace.
So it really is a great source of pride.
A vital, ongoing mission under the U.S. Strategic Command's watchful eye. They call themselves professional peacemakers, lighting up the sky.
There are industry partners that are very important to their program. So being here in Huntsville is great for our team because it allows us to collaborate not only with the Air Force or our mission partners, but also those industry partners that are critical to the success of our mission.
Providing 24/7 deterrence to prevent catastrophic actions from our adversaries, and they stand ready, if necessary, to deliver a decisive response anywhere, anytime.
We practice, we test, we validate, we operate, so that if we ever need to do our mission, we're able to do so.
3 to 4 times a year, the U.S. conducts a Glory Trip mission.
The Glory Trip is a test launch of the Minuteman III ICBM. They are launched out of Vandenberg Space Force Base, just north of the Los Angeles area.
It gives Air Force Global Strike Command the opportunity to test an unarmed Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missile.
The crew that will launch it is not a crew underground. It is a crew on an aircraft, so we'll fly over the Pacific Ocean and send that launch command down to the control center and actually launch the missile ourselves remotely.
We serve as the backup to our underground launch facilities.
We're kind of a squadron, one-of-a-kind squadron that has just a critical role within the ICBM mission.
The 625th Strategic Operations Squadron provides the only alternate launch capability of our ICBM source from the silos.
For 625 STOS, ICBM operations start and end with us. The reason we say that is because we have some elite men and women who are able to target, provide targeting for our ICBMs, and we also have some elite men and women who are able to launch those ICBMs. So you got to start with targeting and then you got to end with execution, with the idea that we never actually execute.
We also need to test our capability from an aircraft perspective to be able to still communicate with that missile.
The aerial launch happens once a year, and it costs roughly $18 million to execute.
We're testing the reliability of the weapon system, but also the airborne capability to ensure that we're still able to communicate with that missile properly and launch it if needed.
There should be no fear associated with this. This test schedule is 5 years in the making. This is purely for testing the weapon system to make sure that it is performing as prescribed and is not related to any kind of world events or any kind of escalation whatsoever. So this is routine business.
We put a lot of work into this. The men and women that work on these platforms, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to make sure that the American people are safe, they're protected.
We're excited to be a part of something that allows individuals to have that sense of security and peace and be able to enjoy life and not really worry about whether they are going to be sleeping safely at night or whether they're going to have to worry about their family because we're doing our job.
From nose to tail, this aircraft is considered a flying skiff, which means it contains classified information throughout. So just to get on board, you have to have special clearance. The aircraft itself belongs to the Navy. The operators on board, the Air Force. Even though I was cleared and approved to be on the flight line, these very clear messages meant even I couldn't get on board. So they took me to the next best thing, their virtual airborne procedures trainer.
And this is where we do all of our training before actually getting onto the bird. And so first we'll start off here for initial training, and then we also do our reoccurring training in this VAPT as well. We have 2 of these. Both operate very similar to what the ALCS or the Airborne Launch Control System does on the bird.
This is a model or a mock-up of what's actually on the jet. Positions are slightly different just because we do have it on screens. But if you look at it, if you look very closely at some of these equipments, you'll still see scratch marks on some of them. They did a very good job of actually capturing real pieces of equipment and then digitally recreating them for us. And so the functionality is the same, and even the look is the same, down to the scratches.
Not to mention it's cost effective.
We had a flood, unfortunately, back in 2019, and so during that time we were sending some of our trainees over to Vandenberg so they can continue on with their training. But having this here is great. We're housed here at Offutt Air Force Base, so our offices are right across the hallway. So having a trainer here, having 2 of them, makes it super easy for our guys to stay trained up.
We want to make sure that they're going to be able to turn those keys and fulfill that mission regardless of what's happening.
This type of job, you need to make sure that you're training to the T every time.
It is such a critical thing to make sure that we are safe in every aspect. Because of how devastating these weapons can be, we need to make sure that we just have that nuclear surety, that safety with everything that we do. So in order to help protect that, we are under personnel reliability programs to make sure that we are still of sound mind, that if any time that we run into a situation where we're not feeling like we're at our best, that we won't be in a situation to operate the weapon system.
We're doing everything independently, but we're verifying that we're both taking the same steps to eventually get to the key turning at the exact same times to provide and ensure that 2 people are taking the correct actions and verifying that those actions are correct to launch that missile. A lot of people, American citizens, allies, are kind of counting on you to make sure that you're doing it right every single time.
The message is that while you don't hear about us, but we're out there. That ICBM mission, and even here at the 625th STOS, we're out there working hard in defense of our country, and we're ready. The American people, our allies, can rest easy knowing that we're out there doing our job.
Executions followed by weeks of analysis, ensuring the procedures are effective and the system operates as it should, fulfilling the 3 C's of deterrence: capability, commitment, and communication to our allies and adversaries, that we stand ready around the clock. Now that's the Airborne Launch Control Glory Trip. What you may not know is the other glory trips conducted on land throughout the year, well, they're headquartered right here in North Alabama, right in our own backyard.
The Glory Trip missions are a perfect example of the joint force coming together.
The Reagan test site is located at the U.S. Army Garrison Kwajalein Atoll, Republic of the Marshall Islands in the Central Pacific Ocean.
The remote nature of where the island sits in the Pacific Ocean in itself is a capability. It allows us to have a broad ocean area to test novel technologies. Doing tests like that over the broad ocean area allow us to do things that we wouldn't necessarily be able to do for safety over the United States.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Allowing them to push the limits on new and pre-existing programs.
We test things that are very important to our national security, so intercontinental ballistic missiles, certain hypersonic tests, space testing.
Radio check, over.
From here in Huntsville, Alabama, it allows us the opportunity to collaborate and plan missions with our mission partners. It also brings us closer to our headquarters, Space and Missile Defense Command.
Commands are sent remotely from Huntsville to Vandenberg Space Force Base and then to the Marshall Islands. That's over 7,000 miles in fractions of a second.
Loud and clear.
In addition to the 3 to 4 glory trips a year, the Reagan test site also supports customers from the Department of Defense as they develop technology and capabilities critical to both national and global security. But these tests just don't happen overnight. In most cases, they're months, even years in the making.
Every test is special, every test is unique. We package all the data that we collected during the test, and we provide that data to the customer, and that really helps them inform their programs of whether their system is performing as expected or if they need to make adjustments.
This role in mission carries an even greater sense of responsibility for Colonel Juan Santiago.
I'm a proud graduate of Butler High School and also a proud graduate of the University of North Alabama. So I'm just extremely humbled and proud that I'm able to continue to serve our Army and our community in this capacity.
Providing a joint force effort while uniting all the components that are key to our national defense.
So one of the great things about the Reagan test site being here in the Rocket City is the fact that for the Glory Trip mission, there are industry partners that are very important to their program. So being here in Huntsville is great for our team because it allows us to collaborate not only with the Air Force or our mission partners, but also those industry partners that are critical to the success of our mission.
Boeing's Huntsville location is just one of those industry partners. Boeing has been involved in the Minuteman program, Minuteman 1, 2, and 3, since the inception.
When the Air Force initially contracted with us 65 years ago, we were able to deploy the first system within 4 years. That is a testament to how important this weapon system is, and it's important to the nation. And Boeing has been involved in this weapon system for those 65 years. And we will continue to support that, the weapon system up through the end of the 2030s timeframe. One of the things specifically we do here in Huntsville is a program called ICBM Cryptography Upgrade 2, which is the second phase of a program. And the circuit cards are actually built right across the parking lot. And the ICU2 program gives the Air Force the capability, it's really kind of in the current century capability, to do remote code change.
Instead of physically sending people out to the silos to insert new crypto codes, Huntsville helped create its remote capability.
The Minuteman weapon system is across six states. There's 450 silos, and the circuit cards that we build here touch every message that goes across the weapon system. So that is huge. That's important for the nation. It's important for the people of the nation, and then of course for Huntsville and delivering this product.
Air Force veteran and Boeing's Senior Director for Strategic Deterrence Systems, Ted Kersey, understands the direct connection Boeing employees have to the world stage.
It's an awesome feeling for the employees that work for Boeing and this weapon system. It goes just beyond doing this for the company, it's doing it for the nation.
And just like their military counterparts, Boeing staff are on alert 24/7. The peace and security of our nation depends on it.
It's always on, right? So the system's always on, missile's always powered, the guidance system's always spinning. So we have folks, employees that look at it from a day to day at how the weapon system's operating and report that to the Air Force to make sure it's ready on a moment's notice.
America's ICBM force has remained on continuous around-the-clock alert since 1959. The ground-based strategic deterrent program will begin the replacement of the Minuteman III and modernization of the 450 ICBM launch facilities in 2029. WAAY 31 was given rare exclusive access to the 625th STOS at Offutt Air Force Base and this mission set. We'd like to extend a sincere thank you to Air Force Global Strike Command, 8th Air Force, 625th Strategic Operations Squadron, U.S. Army Space and Missile Defense Command, the Reagan Test Site Operations Center, and Boeing for making it possible.